Well, as we just talked about, the September PCE report came in line with expectations.
Class American household, maybe you're making $60, $70, $80, $90,000 a year.
Group of nations led by, quote, weak people. Donald Trump was speaking to the website Politico.
They're not producing. We're talking about Ukraine. They talk, but they don't produce.
The first time in more than 30 years, former County Commissioner Eileen Higgins declared the winner in today's runoff.
Newly arrived dreamers, Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
This is secured, but it remains on lockdown. WLKY News Chopper is flying over the scene of the historically
young building. I think they've got him detained. Yeah, I think it's the new.
These past few days, America's been shaking like crazy with one thing after another, hitting so fast, it's hard to even catch your breath. The news keeps pouring in hour after hour like warning sirens going off in a pitch-black sky. It takes you right back to what the Bible calls the last days. A superpower that always seemed rock solid is now reeling in its economy, its politics, its communities, and its violence. Just like 2 Timothy 3:1 says, in the last days there will be very difficult times. Have you noticed those signs getting closer than ever? In Matthew 24, Jesus said that before the very end comes, people will see wars, famines, deception, and lawlessness spreading everywhere. And here's the strange, or maybe not so strange part. 7 big things that just happened in America this December 2025 line up in an almost spooky way with every single one of those warnings. A wobbly economy because of interest rates and the cost of living. A world on edge while Trump keeps hinting at war and what he might do with NATO. A big city flipping politically after nearly 30 years. Fake news spreading like an invisible virus. A shocking campus shooting. Farmers crying for help over trade deals. And the whole country groaning under inflation like we've never seen before. When you put them all together, a bigger, darker, more urgent picture starts coming into focus. Do you think this is just coincidence? Or is something actually being lined up? Are you ready to keep going and see the whole picture and answer that question for yourself? Come on with me and let's take a look. Because once each piece is put in its right place, you'll see something clear. What the Bible prophesied might be unfolding right in front of our eyes. And so you don't have to wait any longer. Let's jump right in with 1. The Fed expected to cut interest rates for the 3rd time this year. Washington, D.C. The 10th of December, 2025. As soon as the doors closed on the FOMC meeting room, the financial markets started shaking. Once again, the Fed cut rates by another quarter point, bringing the federal funds rate down to 3.5%, 3.75%. That's the 3rd cut this year, and it feels like a clear sign that the U.S. economy is heading into deeper trouble. Everything's happening so fast that regular folks can barely catch their breath, and the news can't keep up. Inflation is still hanging around 3%, higher than the 2% target the Fed always aims for. Unemployment has crept up to 4.4%. Layoffs are picking up all over the country, and now the Fed is trying to save a slowing job market while worrying that new Trump tariffs could push prices even higher. Those dry little numbers suddenly feel like pieces of a much bigger, scarier picture. The Fed's latest projections don't exactly calm anyone down either. They're only expecting one more rate cut in 2026. Growth might come in around 2%, but it'll cost us with higher import prices and tighter times for businesses. Some Fed officials are openly worried that the whole system is getting close to a breaking point. A lot of folks are asking, does any of this make you nervous about what's coming? Plenty of people are saying, why does it all have to happen right now, in the middle of all this worry? Some Bible verses start sounding less like ancient words and more like today's headlines. First, Revelation 6:6, a voice says, "A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine." It's not just about prices going up. It's a picture of hard times when food costs so much it takes your breath away. A lot of people hear that and just sigh. Sounds an awful lot like now. Then Jesus says in Matthew 24-7, there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. When the economic numbers start spinning out of control, people begin to wonder, are these old words coming alive? Is this just the beginning? Have you ever felt like the world is moving faster than it should? Like something unseen is pushing it along? And finally, Revelation 18:2, Fallen. Fallen is Babylon the Great. She's become a home for demons. Babylon isn't only a city in the story. It stands for a whole worldwide money system that could come crashing down any day. When the Fed keeps cutting rates like this, more than a few experts say they're just trying to keep Babylon standing a little longer. Of course, some folks push back and say it's only a normal economic cycle. But if you look at the numbers from 2020 until today, inflation, trade wars, supply chain messes, wars all over the place, it sure lines up with famines in various places. If it's all just coincidence, it's a pretty unsettling one. It all points to one hard conclusion. This feels like a warning, a sign that the Lord is showing us this economic system can't hold forever. And when the American economy, the backbone of world trade, starts to wobble, we need to stay awake more than ever. Pray for America, pray for the world, and especially pray that our own hearts stay steady through whatever's coming next. 2. Trump calls Europe weak and falling apart, hints at pulling support for Ukraine. On December 9, 2025, right there in the White House, Trump dropped another diplomatic bombshell in an interview with Politico. He called Europe weak and falling apart and hinted he might pull the plug on aid to Ukraine. Those words didn't just shock the press, they jolted the whole Western security system like a fire alarm in the middle of the night. One sentence, but the ripples went all across the continent. With the Russia-Ukraine war dragging on since 2022, NATO on edge, and European countries struggling to keep up their defense budgets, Trump is now pushing them to spend 5% of GDP on the military, a number that feels downright impossible for a lot of them. The air was thick. You could almost feel something big coming. Don't you get the sense the world is creeping closer to some new line in the sand? In that same interview, Trump even called NATO his baby, half joking, half flexing. He told Ukraine they need to hold elections even under martial law, like he's trying to back them into a corner. The reaction was instant. Macron fired back. Starmer sounded furious, and the Kremlin jumped in to mock Europe for showing how weak they really are. U.S.-Europe relations, already hanging by a thread, now feel like a rubber band stretched to the breaking point. When I look at all this, certain Bible verses come ringing back like a warning bell. First, Matthew 24:6 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars." And right after that, "See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet." The war in Ukraine, trouble in the Middle East, the strain between America and Europe, it all feels exactly like those rumors of wars the Bible talked about. Then Matthew 24:7, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." Every time a big leader throws out sharp words like that, countries react like sparks hitting dry grass in the dark. Doesn't it feel familiar? Like the world is being gently turned to line up with what was foretold long ago? Then there's Revelation 6:4 and that blood-red horse. And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people should slay one another. When Trump hints at walking away from Ukraine, it's like pulling out one of the last pillars holding up a shaky peace. And once peace is gone, the rest of the world only needs one little spark to go up in flames. A lot of folks push back and say, no, it's just tough diplomacy. Don't turn everything into end-time stuff. But if you look at history from World War II until now, armed conflicts keep coming in waves. And we've never had this many rumors of war floating around. It all lines up with the pattern Scripture laid out, not because we're forcing it, but because the world is showing the picture all by itself. This whole thing reminds us that the Lord warned us about days of worldwide conflict, not to scare us, but to wake us up, to pray, stay watchful, and seek peace through faith, while the world walks through some of the most fragile hours in modern history. 3. Miami elects its first Democratic mayor in nearly 30 years. There are moments in history that don't make a big noise or shake the ground, but quietly change the direction of a whole city, and sometimes even a country. Eileen Higgins' win on the night of December 9, 2025, in Miami was one of those moments. Just one announcement. Yet it felt like someone flipped a switch, and a bright light suddenly shone on a political order that hadn't moved in almost 3 decades. Don't you get the feeling something's shifting under the surface? Miami has been controlled by Republicans since 1997, almost 30 years straight. Yet Higgins, with 59.3% of the vote, broke through what everyone thought was an unbreakable wall. This happened right in the heart of the Cuban-American community that's been rock solid for Trump, a place people called unshakable. Ever notice how the strongest forts usually fall when nobody's expecting it? Higgins won because she promised affordable housing, something that's been choking regular folks in Miami day after day. When a city votes for its worries instead of the party that's always been in charge, that's not just politics anymore. It's a signal. People want the wind to change direction. It sounds small, but the ripple effects can be huge. Haven't you noticed signs like this popping up more and more? When I look at this shift, the words from Daniel chapter 2 come ringing back. First, the short version. He changes times and seasons. Then the full one. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. A city that seemed destined to stay Republican forever suddenly turns. That's like someone behind an invisible curtain turning the whole wheel of history. Then there's Revelation 13 with that mysterious picture. The beast coming up out of the sea. The whole verse. And I saw a beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads. That image isn't pointing at any one person or party. It's just reminding us that every sudden, fast, hard to predict shift in power is part of a bigger current rising across the world. And in Isaiah 9, the promise rings out, the government shall be upon his shoulder. The full passage, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. No matter who people vote into office, God is still the one who ultimately controls every political turn. A mayor changing in Miami might look tiny, but in today's bitterly divided times, it feels like an important bend in a much bigger story. Of course, some folks who don't share this view will say it's just a local election, democracy working the way it's supposed to. But when you look at the growing division, the political violence, the spread of lawlessness, it's hard to call this random. It feels like part of a current pushing America into years of upheaval, exactly the kind of chaos the Bible talks about before the really big events come. So Higgins' victory isn't just about an election. It's a reminder that God is still arranging things, still turning things, and still giving warnings. We ought to pray, not just for Miami, but for a whole nation standing at a historic crossroads. 4. J.D. Vance sharply shoots down rumor that he was yelling in his wife's face over a viral photo. On December 9th, 2025, a picture blew up on X showing what looked like J.D. Vance yelling right in his wife's face at some private event. Just a few hours later, Vance hopped on his own X account live and called it straight out blatant fake garbage. The thing spread like crazy, over 50,000 likes and shares that same night, and turned into the big talking point about truth in the age of AI-made pictures. The mess got even louder because people were already whispering about Vance's marriage before this. Some folks say the photo was cooked up by AI and dropped at just the right moment to hurt him politically. That doubt didn't slow it down one bit. If anything, the fuzziness made it spread faster, with thousands of comments tearing people apart. Vance's post didn't just deny the picture. He pushed back hard on all the other personal rumors too. "This stuff is completely made up," he wrote, "and I'm not letting it wreck my family." Funny thing is, the more he denied it, the more that photo became the perfect example of how information gets twisted these days when nobody can tell real from fake just by looking. Right here is where the Bible's warnings hit you between the eyes. Jesus said plain and simple in Matthew 24, verse 4, "Watch out that no one deceives you." It feels like he's talking about right now, when people get led around by pictures that nobody knows where they even came from. Then the very next verse, Matthew 24, verse 5, "For many will come in my name and will deceive many people," end quote. Scripture doesn't stop at a gentle heads up. It talks about an even stronger kind of deception. In 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 11, it calls it a powerful delusion, a sign of the last days. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie. Gives you chills when you see how fast a fake story can grab millions of minds in just a couple of hours. Some folks brush it off and say, "Oh, it's just social media drama, nothing to get worked up about." But the real danger is how quick we share without checking, how we run with whatever feels right, how we hand our common sense over to whatever we already want to believe. That's the scary part. We don't need some big shot dictator to fool us anymore. One blurry photo or AI clip is enough to plant doubt and split everybody up. And that's exactly what the Bible said would happen. Truth gets watered down so much that folks who are paying attention have to fight to hold on to what's real. In the middle of all this, the J.D. Vance story isn't really about politics or marriage anymore. It's a mirror showing how fast and how deep the deception is spreading these days. So here's the loud wake-up call. We're walking into a time when real and fake are mixed up like thick fog. If we don't learn how to tell the difference, we'll end up victims of the very things we pass along and believe. And like the Bible keeps telling us, stay awake, because the deception isn't just rumor anymore. It's staring us right in the face. 5. Shooting at Kentucky State University leaves 1 dead, 1 critically injured. Not everybody realizes that one ordinary morning can change a whole university forever. Students were getting ready for finals week, professors were heading to class, everything felt peacefully normal. Then, in a split second, a sound nobody ever wants to hear ripped through the quiet. And from that moment on, Kentucky State University would never be the same. On December 9th, 2025, the campus in Frankfurt turned into pure chaos when shots rang out inside Whitney M. Young Jr. Hall. Within minutes, the whole place was locked down and every class that day got canceled. This was the second shooting on the KSU campus in just 1 year, and the fear among students and faculty is now almost suffocating. Police quickly arrested the suspect, 24-year-old Jacob Lee Bard, right after it happened. One person was killed on the spot. Another was rushed to the ER in critical condition. That same night, Governor Andy Beshear put out a statement calling it a pain we should never have to accept, and asked the community to come together while investigators keep working to figure out the motive. But behind all the legal steps and emergency response is something that hurts even more. Why does a university, a place meant for learning and bright futures, keep turning into the scene of deadly violence? Twice in 1 year? When it happens again and again, it really feels like the whole country is sliding down a hill nobody can stop. That's when Jesus' words in Matthew 24 hit hard. Lawlessness will be increased. And the Bible goes on. Because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. Words written so long ago suddenly sound like they're describing exactly what we're living through. The way we're getting numb to violence, like a thick, poisonous fog rolling in. 2 Timothy warns about the last days, saying, "In the last days, there will come times of difficulty." It's not just hard times with money or politics. It's hard times in people's hearts, when human life feels cheap and one quick argument can end in death. Look a little deeper, and you see the days of Noah all over again. The earth was corrupt and filled with violence. That picture doesn't just belong to the world before the flood. It looks a whole lot like the violence we're starting to treat as normal today. Places that used to feel safe can turn into tragedy in the blink of an eye. Some folks say it's just America's gun culture, an old argument we've had for decades. But step outside our borders and the violence doesn't stop. Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, stabbings, bombings, mass attacks, they're all rising at an alarming rate. The problem isn't only guns. The problem is what's happening inside people's hearts. The shooting in Kentucky isn't just one day's sad headline. It's one of the clearest signs of the lawlessness the Bible talked about long ago. It's also a reminder to pray for the victims, for their families, and for a whole generation living in the middle of invisible bullets, coldness, violence, and confusion. More than ever, we need to stay awake and hold on to love before it goes cold for good. 6. Trump announces $12 billion aid package for farmers hit by trade war. Hot news out of the White House this afternoon, the 8th of December, 2025. Trump just surprised everybody by rolling out a $12 billion bailout for American farmers. This comes right as the farm markets are getting hammered because China has pretty much stopped buying our soybeans. The latest numbers show soybean exports have already dropped more than $12.5 billion, and the whole Midwest is reeling. Washington's buzzing like we're smack in the middle of an economic war. With all those big numbers flying around, folks are starting to ask each other, what in the world is happening to the global food supply? And if you've ever sat down with a farmer who watched a whole harvest go to waste because of tariffs, you know this isn't just another headline. This is rent money. This is groceries. This is real life for millions of families. When you have to pump $12 billion into the system just to keep farmers from going under, something's changed. Things aren't steady anymore. At the press conference, Trump said $11 billion of it will go straight into a new farmer bridge assistance program to help the folks hurting the worst from this trade fight with China. A lot of farmers are grateful for the help, but they're also bone-tired of being the human shield in this endless U.S.-China showdown. They'll take the money, sure, but they still hate the tariffs, the very thing that saved them this time and put them in this mess in the first place. In the middle of all this mess, the Bible describes something that looks an awful lot like right now. Back in Revelation chapter 6, there's the black horse, the one that stands for food shortages and sky-high prices. Revelation 6-5 says, I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Scales, meaning prices bouncing all over the place, food markets going crazy, harvests getting squeezed by chaos. It doesn't stop there. Amos chapter 8 warns about a famine, not of food, but of hearing the words of the Lord, when people chase money, twist justice, and the land itself dries up. Amos 8:11 puts it plain. The days are coming, declares the sovereign Lord, when I will send a famine through the land, not a famine of food or a thirst for water, but a famine of hearing the words of the Lord. And Jesus himself said in Matthew 24-7, there will be famines in various places, short, straight to the point, and it sure feels like today. Plenty of folks will say, nah, this is just politics, just trade strategy, nothing to do with end-time stuff. But step back a little, and it's hard to miss. The whole world is tied together so tight that one country's decision can shake everybody else. That fragile, tangled system is exactly what the Bible said would happen. Shortages, upheaval, everything off balance. This $12 billion package isn't just economics. It's a reminder that the things Scripture warned about are getting closer all the time. Still, right in the middle of the cracks and the worry, one thing hasn't changed. God still provides, still holds things together, but He's also letting us see the decay that's coming. This isn't the moment to panic. It's the moment to wake up. 7. The cost of living crisis in America keeps getting hotter. You don't need fireworks in the sky or the ground shaking under your feet. Just walk into any grocery store in America right now and you'll feel a different kind of earthquake. Prices creeping up, step by step, quiet but steady, with no warning. Then on the evening of December 9th, 2025, at the Mount Airy Casino Resort in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump showed up and put a big exclamation point on a worry that's been building for years. America is walking deeper into a cost of living crisis we haven't seen in a whole generation. He called his new tariff plan Liberation Day. For most folks, though, real liberation still feels pretty far off when inflation is stuck around 3%, the highest it's been in 40 years. And the economy looks like the letter K. The rich keep climbing, the poor keep sliding. Trump's economic approval is down to about 36%, and the Democrats won't let up, saying these policies could push prices even higher. No matter which side of the argument you're on, the heavy sighs inside American homes are real. If you live here, you've probably felt it yourself. You spend more at the store, but come home with less in the cart. Meals somehow get smaller without anybody planning it. The bills show up faster and hit harder. It feels like you're trying to hold the roof on in a storm, and every gust has a name. Beef prices, electric bill, gas pump, even that cup of coffee you used to take for granted. And if you're watching this from somewhere else, trust me, people here aren't sighing over fancy stuff. They're sighing over eggs, milk, and vegetables. Here's the thing. This isn't just numbers on a screen. The Bible talked about a cycle people would face when the last days get close. Revelation 6 verse 6 paints a picture that feels awfully familiar. A quart of wheat for a denarius, meaning food is there, but the price is so high, regular folks can only afford enough to barely get by. Haggai once says, "You plant much, but harvest little. You eat, but never have enough." And that pretty much nails how millions of families feel right now. Work, and still never quite catch up. Matthew 24 verse 7 says there will be famines in various places. Famine doesn't always mean empty stomachs. It can mean running short, pinching pennies, shrinking dreams, when your paycheck can't keep up with life. So when somebody says this is just politics and not something bigger, maybe we ought to ask, why is inflation shooting up all over the world at the same time? Why are economies shaking right on cue? Why do the old prophecies line up so well with what we're living through? These money signs today aren't here to scare us. They're here to wake us up. The world is tipping under forces bigger than any person can control. And right in the middle of that storm, the Bible reminds us of the one thing that never moves. Put your trust in the Lord. Everything was told to us ahead of time, so we wouldn't panic. We'd stay awake, hold steady, and hang on to the only hope that never shakes. We just walked through the 7 latest events that have rocked America. Which piece of news made you stop and really think? Only when you step back and look at these 7 big things, hitting one right after another in just the past few days, do you see how downright scary the whole picture really is. They're not just random news stories anymore. They're 7 huge cracks ripping through the foundation of America and shaking the whole world. The economy's shaky with the cost of living mess, the dollar losing value, national debt shooting through the roof, wars and dangerous military moves flaring up overseas. Politics here turned upside down, with investigations, elections, and power fights, lies and fake stuff online, making everything feel crazier. Gun violence, spreading and not letting up. All of it together sends a chill down your spine. America, the superpower that's led the world for so long, is clearly sliding into decline. And the scariest part? It's all happening so fast you barely catch your breath from one story before the next one slams you. It feels like a countdown clock ticking, but nobody knows where the hands are pointing. Don't you feel it too? Like we're living inside a news channel that never turns off. Everything's spinning so quick that if you look away for a minute, you're already behind. And the strangest thing, the more you look at the big picture, the more it feels like somebody wrote it all down thousands of years ago. The economy is the biggest shake of all. When groceries keep getting more expensive, paychecks don't keep up, the country's debt goes past anything we've ever seen, and regular Americans are just barely getting by. It's not temporary anymore. Funny how these dark pieces pile up exactly like the book of Revelation talks about when the seals get opened. Famine, chaos, everything unsteady. Then on top of that, wars overseas throw gas on the fire, with military moves that aren't just threats anymore. They're real actions. One little spark could set off something huge. Inside our own country, politics is at the point where every decision could change history. Court cases, arguments, accusations, and big power shifts are making our democracy wobble. At the same time, lies and misinformation hang over everything like a thick fog. You can't tell what's real and what's not. And then the violence keeps reminding the world that safety in America is falling apart day by day, from schools to grocery stores, from streets to neighborhoods. Put it all together, and it doesn't look random, doesn't look like just another cycle. It looks like a spiral going straight down, pointing to something bigger than anything we can figure out on our own. And when you look at that picture through the Bible, the hair on your neck stands up even more. Matthew 24:8 calls this time the beginning of birth pains. The whole verse says, all these are the beginning of birth pains, when natural disasters, wars, lies, and money troubles all show up at once. It's not just coincidence anymore, it's a sign. The book of Revelation starts with words that make every generation shiver. Revelation 1:1, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants what must soon take place. These end-time events aren't things that might happen, they're things that have to happen. And what's really something, these 7 things we're seeing in the world right now line up in the exact order of the 7 seals: war, famine, chaos, death, fear, and lies spreading across the earth. The more messed up the world gets, the sharper those old prophecies look. And if somebody asks, are we really in the last days? Just look at how the Bible says it'll catch people by surprise. 2 Peter 3:10 says, the day of the Lord will come like a thief. No warning, no exact date on the calendar. Nobody knows the hour. But the setting will feel exactly like right now. Everything coming fast, tension thick, strange things happening left and right. Looking back at those 7 things, it's not just that America looks worn out. It's that mankind is standing at a crossroads in history. One road slides deeper into chaos. The other is a wake-up call to turn back to the one who told us all this ahead of time. This isn't about scaring anybody. It's about opening our eyes before the time the Bible calls the beginning of birth pains. And maybe the most important question right now is, are you and I really awake? Are we seeing what's actually going on? Because it just might be that everything we call breaking news today is really the final pages of the great book mankind was handed a very long time ago. 7 big things have hit us all at once. Shaky economy, wars popping up overseas, politics turned upside down, waves of lies everywhere, violence spreading, and the cost of living going through the roof. When you put them together, they paint one big picture that says loud and clear, our world is walking right into a time of real trouble. These aren't just random pieces. They're all flowing the same direction, pulling everything toward a future nobody can predict. And if we listen close, they sound a whole lot like the signs the Bible talked about for the last days, things written down thousands of years ago. But even when everything feels crazy, the good news has never shut the door on hope. God is still calling people to turn back to Him, to trust Him, and to stand firm in faith, because real peace, the kind that goes beyond anything we can figure out, is only found in Him. This is the time to pray more, slow down a little so we can hear His voice better, and love people more in a world that's torn apart by fear and chaos. When we love each other, lift each other up, and keep our hearts pointed toward the Lord, darkness can't win over light. I'd like to ask you to stop for just a second and think. All the things you just heard, all these events coming one after another, are they just news? Or are they a strong wake-up call that we're getting closer to the day Jesus comes back? What do you think about these signs? How do they make you feel when you look at the whole picture? If you'd like, leave a short prayer in the comments. Share a little of your own faith. It's a living testimony right in the middle of hard times. You never know. Your prayer might lift somebody up who needs it more than ever right now. If this video meant something to you, I'd sure appreciate it if you'd take 1 second to hit like share it, and subscribe. Those little clicks help God's word travel farther and reach more folks, especially the ones who are scared and looking for a bit of light in the dark. And if you want to keep walking this road together, more end-time signs, deeper talks about faith, go ahead and tap the bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you, truly thank you, for staying until the end. In a world that's spinning like crazy, the fact that you're still seeking truth and wanting to see everything through the eyes of faith is the most precious thing there is. May the peace of the Lord be with you and your family, no matter what comes.
It's funny that you bring wild weather up, because I coined a term last week, wild weather entertainment, the W.
Dumping snow and blasting the Midwest with bitter cold.
Legal correspondent Jan Crawford joins me now from the Supreme Court. Jan, you were there. How'd it go?
Partisan voices so there could be accountability and transparency.
Crop prices and the administration's tariffs. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins and Treasury Secretary Scott.
Certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops.
Why Confluent and why now?
Yeah, first, good morning, Sarah. It's great to be here.
Here's the year 2025, flying by at a crazy speed, like everything's rushed and piling up one on top of the other, and every hot headline feels like it's carrying some kind of silent warning. America, the country that's always stood for economic power, political strength, and tech leadership, doesn't feel quite so proud and steady these days. Extreme storms, wild swings in the markets, sparks of war flaring up, weird cold snaps, all of it keeps hitting us back to back like drumbeats coming from somewhere we can't see. Do you feel it too? Have you ever looked at the flood of news lately and wondered, what in the world is really going on? And right in the middle of all this rushing news, there's this strange feeling, something that goes way beyond politics or regular economics. It's almost like there's a hand gently shaking humanity awake. The Bible talked about days when natural disasters, wars, and chaos would increase. In Matthew 24, verses 3 through 8, Jesus told his disciples what signs to watch for when they asked about the end times. Now, watching America in 2025 during President Trump's second term, it's hard not to notice how a lot of those old prophecies seem to line up with what's happening. Do you think it's just coincidence? Or maybe it's a reminder we've ignored for way too long. The 7 biggest events since the start of December 2025, from extreme weather and geopolitical conflicts to economic shocks, aren't just ordinary news stories. They're pieces of a much bigger picture, where what's happening on Earth lines up with the warnings in Scripture. This video is going to walk through each one of those events, then put all the pieces together so you can see the full picture of where humanity stands right now and how the time we're given may be running shorter than we think. This isn't just current events talk. This is a wake-up call. So please, don't miss a single part of it. And now, come along with me as we dive into each event, one by one, matching them to the pieces of a picture that the Lord has been pointing to for thousands of years. 1. Record-breaking cold wave hits the Midwest and Northeast. At the start of December 2025, just when folks were getting ready for the holidays, a blast of Arctic air slammed into the Midwest and Northeast so fast it left the whole country stunned. Temperatures dropped way below 0 Fahrenheit. The wind chill felt like a knife across your face. And in just a few hours, whole cities pretty much shut down. From Michigan, clear across Illinois, and all the way to New York, we got hit with a week of cold that anybody who lived through it won't ever forget. Have you noticed how the weather alerts just keep coming one after another lately? From December 1st through the 8th of 2025, NOAA kept putting out red flag warnings, calling this Arctic blast extremely unusual. They tied it to the wild weather patterns we're seeing because the planet's warming up. Even the experts said this one was worse than anything they'd forecast. In Flint, Michigan, it got down to -3 Fahrenheit and broke old records. Chicago stayed below 0 for days on end. The Mid-Atlantic got buried under 8 to 16 inches of snow overnight. O'Hare and Denver canceled hundreds of flights. Interstates turned into skating rinks for 500 miles. and at least 5 people died, some in wrecks, some from carbon monoxide trying to stay warm any way they could. You tell me, does that still feel like a normal winter? Or is something bigger shifting right under our noses? Way back 2,000 years ago, Matthew 24, verses 7 and 8 warned us, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." Those birth pains aren't just wars and hunger. They're these wild, extreme disasters that keep getting harder to predict or handle. This record cold feels like a sharp, icy wake-up bell, letting us know things are moving right along the path the Lord laid out long ago. Some folks shrug and say, "It's just climate change, nothing supernatural." Okay, but if it's only natural, why does the timing and the intensity line up so closely with what the Bible described 2,000 years before we had weather satellites? Noah says these extreme events are getting more common, and Scripture said the same thing 2 millennia earlier. Coincidence? Or a warning we don't want to face? This cold snap didn't just freeze the roads, it's freezing our complacency too. It's a reminder that God still speaks through the weather, trying to shake us awake, get us to look at the times we're living in, check our hearts, and get ready for what's coming next. This is only the first big one, but it's plenty to make any thinking person stop and ask, how close are we really to the last days? Let's move on to the next event and see just how big this picture is getting. 2. Supreme Court hears Trump's case to fire FTC Commissioner. On the 8th of December 2025, pretty much the whole country held its breath as the Supreme Court started hearing the case about President Trump firing FTC Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter, a move that could smash a legal rule that's been in place for 90 years. The hearing only lasted 2 hours, but the fallout feels like a political earthquake. In his second term, Trump is tightening his grip on the antitrust agencies, and this lawsuit isn't just some regular legal fight. It's a head-on clash over how much power the president really has over independent agencies. And man, everything's moving so fast, it takes your breath away. Blink once and you might miss a huge sign that's unfolding right in front of us. The air in Washington, D.C. that day was thick with tension. The conservative justices, especially Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, seemed ready to back Trump's right to fire her. The whole thing started when Trump removed Rebecca Slaughter, saying she didn't fit his policy direction, but really he's directly challenging the 1,935 ruling that protects the independence of agencies like the FTC. If Trump wins, he could reach into the SEC, the FCC, and a bunch of other federal agencies too. That means starting in early 2026, the whole power structure in America could get turned upside down. Think about it. One little change on paper could touch everything from the economy and the media to our personal freedoms. This isn't just Washington's story anymore. If you look a little deeper, you start to hear an old reminder echoing through. Romans 13:1 says, "Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established." Yet right alongside that, a cold warning rings out from Revelation 13:1-2. "And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. When too much power gets piled into human hands, corruption almost always follows. And isn't it strange? Even a decision that looks perfectly legal on the surface can turn into the first step of the very decline the Bible talked about 2,000 years ago. A lot of folks say, nah, it's just politics. People sue. The other side fights back. That's how democracy works. But human history has never shown that concentrating power ends well. It always opens the door to abuse, to modern-day beasts dressed up in legal clothing while rotting on the inside. And with everything happening so fast right now, do you feel the warning bells getting louder? Like alarm bells straight out of Scripture ringing across the centuries. This isn't just a court case. It's a sign. It's a warning that the political system is sliding toward the kind of decay the prophets talked about long ago. And while people keep grabbing, expanding, and legalizing more power, God reminds us that ultimate authority belongs to Him, not to any leader down here. What happened at the Supreme Court on December 8 isn't only about political cracks. It's a call for every one of us to turn back, put our trust in the Lord, and get our hearts ready for what's coming closer every day. This isn't the time to get comfortable. This is the time to wake up. 3. Trump approves $12 billion emergency aid package for American farmers. Right on the morning of the 8th of December 2025, while America was still buried under a flood of news about the economy and wild weather, President Trump dropped a bombshell that woke the whole market up. A $12 billion emergency aid package for farmers across the country. That huge number, coming out of nowhere, had reporters and regular folks asking the same thing: what's really going on behind closed doors at the White House? Doesn't it feel like cracks are starting to show in the economic picture? And the big question, is this just policy? Or is it another sign of the warnings the Bible talked about long ago? For months now, American farmers have lost close to $15 billion in exports, especially soybeans and corn, the pride of the Midwest. This new package is about the same size as the giant bailout back in 2018, but this time it feels heavier, more urgent. $8 billion goes straight into farmers' pockets, cash for folks who've been wiped out by shaky prices. The other $4 billion is to open up new markets in India and Europe, trying to get less hooked on China. Meanwhile, Beijing says they'll buy another 2 million tons of soybeans, but who really trusts that promise when tensions keep rising? If everything feels like it's hanging by a thread, depending on promises that might not hold, you're not wrong. When you look at all this uncertainty, you can almost hear the Bible speaking again in Revelation 6 to 5-6, where the third seal is opened. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice: 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages. That image of the scales, prices going crazy, food getting harder and harder to afford, doesn't just belong to the last days. It's starting to look a lot like what we're living through right now. $12 billion sounds generous, but really, it's more like trying to patch a system that's already cracking. Do you feel that shadow of the third seal creeping over the world economy? Of course, some folks say this is just normal government stuff. When farming hurts, the government helps. Nothing special. But if it's so normal, why does the package have to be this huge? Why does the market feel so nervous all the time? What's happening goes way beyond the usual ups and downs. It's the result of everything shaking at once: trade wars, inflation, supply chain messes, all of it lining up with the picture the Bible painted of a world coming apart before the end. It can't all be coincidence. And that's the message coming loud and clear on December 8. When the economy wobbles, when food itself becomes a battleground, God is reminding us that money and stuff down here will never last. These financial shocks, these giant bailouts, this quiet worry eating at everybody, they're wake-up calls to look for real treasure in heaven. This isn't just economic policy. It's a call to come home. It's an alarm bell for anyone still sleeping through the most important moment in history. 4. IBM buys Confluent for $11 billion, just when folks were still talking about the wild weather and all the political ups and downs. Another big shock hit us from the tech world, like a drumbeat telling us something even bigger is coming. IBM, that giant company that's almost 113 years old, just announced they're buying Confluent for $11 billion. Can you feel it? Every day the world seems to speed up a little more, faster than any of us can really keep up with. Sometimes you have to wonder, is this just another business deal, or is there a bigger fight hiding behind it? The deal was signed on December 8, 2025, at IBM's headquarters in Armonk, New York, where the big decisions about AI and data happen at lightning speed these days. IBM is paying $31 a share for Confluent, the company behind Apache Kafka, the platform that handles real-time data. Right away, Confluent's stock jumped 45%, and the market went crazy. Doesn't that strike you as a little strange? A deal this size usually makes waves. But this one, it leaves an uneasy feeling, like technology is racing ahead before we even know where we are. Behind this huge buyout is IBM's plan to fold Kafka into their Watson AI system and speed up how data gets collected, processed, and spread faster than anyone ever thought possible. We're stepping into a time when every click, every signal, every digital breath gets recorded. That's when the words from Daniel 12:4 ring louder than ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. When knowledge explodes so much that nobody can tell what's real and what's been twisted, do you think we're getting close to that dangerous line the Bible warned us about? Of course, plenty of folks will say, come on, technology just makes life better, nothing to do with the end times. But history shows the things that seem the most helpful are often the ones that end up controlling us the hardest. The Bible warns about deception in the last days, when evil forces use knowledge and systems to steer the crowds. The stronger the technology gets, the bigger the risk. An $11 billion deal between IBM and Confluent isn't just a trend, it shows how fast human knowledge is growing, exactly the way Scripture said it would thousands of years ago. So this isn't just another business transaction, it's a wake-up call, a reminder that when knowledge increases, deception increases right along with it. The Lord is showing us the road we're on, a road where data, power, artificial intelligence, and the speed of information could become tools that lead the whole world into dangerous dependence. More than ever, we need to stay awake and put our trust in the Lord, instead of these man-made systems that are spinning faster than anyone can control. 5. U.S. stocks drop as investors hold their breath for year-end Fed meeting. Have you ever noticed how the biggest swings sometimes start with the tiniest little things? Just a faint flicker on a chart, one quiet pause in the action, and suddenly the whole picture changes color. That's exactly how our fifth story began. Not with a bang or a crash, just an odd hush right in the heart of Wall Street. On the morning of December 8th, 2025, something felt heavy on the New York trading floor. People were still rushing around, screens were still flashing like always, but everybody had that same waiting for the other shoe to drop feeling, and they were right. All eyes were on the Fed's year-end meeting coming up December 17th and 18th, a meeting that could set the mood for the whole world. Ever felt that way yourself? Like something big is coming, but nobody knows exactly what. That's where American investors were that day. Bond yields crept up to 4.3%, kind of a quiet warning that something was shifting under the surface. The result? The Dow fell 0.5%, the S&P 500 dropped 1.2%, and the Nasdaq slid 1.8%. It wasn't a disaster, nothing like a crash, but it was enough to make the whole street go quiet for a minute. Netflix and Nvidia led the way down. Even the strongest names started to wobble. When the pillars start shaking, you know it's not just a little blip anymore. And when you step back and look at what's happening, those old words from James 5, verses 1 through 3, almost echo across all those glowing screens. Your gold and silver have rusted, a warning from thousands of years ago, yet it fits today in a way that gives you chills. All that wealth, the very thing Wall Street is built on, suddenly shows how temporary everything really is. All the money piled up, all the profits chased. Turns out it's just metal that can rust the moment things turn. Of course, some folks will shrug and say, it's just the market. Ups and downs are normal. Fair enough. But here's the question. Why do these normal ups and downs keep coming harder, faster, wider, and why do they keep lining up so perfectly with the signs we were told to watch for? If it's all just random, how come the pieces fit together so neatly? In the end, what the Lord wants to remind us isn't really about whether the market goes up or down. It's about how useless it is to cling to things that won't last. When Wall Street can tremble from one little breeze, it becomes crystal clear. The only thing that never shakes is what belongs to Him. And sometimes a quiet little dip like that turns out to be the loudest wake-up call for the season we're walking into. 6. No breakthrough, in Ukraine-USA peace talks. On December 6th and 7th, 2025, while the whole world was hoping for even a tiny spark of good news from the talks in Miami, the latest round of peace negotiations between Ukraine and the United States ended with absolutely nothing accomplished. No joint statement, no concessions, and not the slightest hint that the war is anywhere close to being over. Maybe you feel it too. Sometimes the meetings we pin the biggest hopes on are the very ones that remind us peace is still a long, long way off. This failure came right as President Zelensky hurried out of the US and flew straight to London looking for more support, while Russia stepped up its air attacks on Kyiv and Kharkiv. If you've been following the news day by day, you've probably asked yourself, why is it that every time people start talking about peace, the war answers back with even louder explosions? You see, sometimes the fight isn't only out on the battlefield. People are also fighting to hold on to whatever hope they have left. Europe is trying to help by promising another 5 billion euros from the EU, but everybody knows money can't stop missiles. From Miami to London, and from London looking back toward Ukraine, the picture is pretty much just two colors. Very thin hope and war that keeps spreading. While countries argue over Crimea, Donbass, and diplomatic terms, the bombs keep falling and don't wait for anyone. Right in the middle of all this, the words of Jesus in Matthew 24, verses 6 and 7, seem to echo through the air raid sirens. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, for nation will rise against nation. When you read those words out loud, it gives you chills, because what the Lord warned about isn't just some symbol. It's playing out step by step, layer by layer, right in front of our eyes. From another angle, some folks say, it's just geopolitics, nothing unusual. But if it's only ordinary politics, why do so many signs line up all at once? Why do prophecies written over 2,000 years ago match what's happening now so closely it makes your skin crawl? We're not forcing anything. The pieces are falling into the picture the Bible painted long ago, all by themselves. In the end, war is not what God wants, but He allows it to wake up hearts that have been asleep. In the middle of all the bombs, the failed talks, and the chaos, the call for real peace, the kind of peace that comes from faith and turning back to Him, is louder and clearer than ever. This isn't just another international story. It's a wake-up call for the whole world. 7. Crypto surges back strong. You're probably used to wild days in the markets by now, but the morning of the 8th of December 2025 sure made a lot of investors sit up straight. Out of nowhere, Bitcoin shot past $108,500. Ethereum climbed to $4,180, and it turned into one of the biggest single-day jumps we've seen all year. If you've been around this stuff for a while, you can almost smell that familiar feeling again. The excitement mixed with a little nervousness, like the whole thing could flip in a heartbeat. This run wasn't just hype or people getting carried away. More than 100 big companies piled in at the same time, doing the same playbook Michael Saylor always uses. The guy who truly believes Bitcoin isn't just an investment, it's protection against inflation. Total crypto market cap blew past $3 trillion, a number that even the biggest bulls have to nod at. If you're holding any crypto, I bet you checked your wallet a few times today, didn't you? On the details, MicroStrategy kept leading the charge. They dropped another $835 million on Bitcoin and pushed their total holdings to a new all-time high. Analysts here and abroad are saying Bitcoin could hit $150,000 by the end of 2025 if the buying keeps up. Younger investors see it as a chance to change their lives, while the big funds are quietly rearranging their portfolios. It feels a lot like the red-hot days of 2021 all over again. But right in the middle of all this, the Bible gives a pretty chilling reminder. 1 Timothy 6:9-10 says, "Those who want to get rich fall into temptation, and the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil." Crypto can make you a fortune in just a few hours. And that shiny bait can make a person forget what really matters and lose their spiritual footing. Then Revelation 18 talks about a time when the merchants of the earth weep because nobody buys their goods anymore, a scary picture of an economy collapsing overnight, and it sure sounds a lot like how fragile the crypto market can be. Some folks roll their eyes and say, "Come on, crypto is just new technology. Why tie it to prophecy?" But look back at every financial bubble in history, Dutch tulips, the 2008 crash. The pattern never changes. Where greed runs wild, a fall is waiting right around the corner. The crazy ups and downs we've seen in crypto these past few years line up pretty well with the warnings about economic chaos in the last days, when people chase fake value instead of real value. When all these signs show up at the same time, we can't just look at crypto as green and red numbers blinking on a screen. It's the Lord reminding us how shaky earthly wealth really is, calling us back to the only thing that lasts forever, something that doesn't swing with the market, vanish overnight, or drag our souls into a trap. We just walked through the latest headlines everyone's talking about, and every bit of it feels soaked with signs and warnings that were written a very long time ago, doesn't it? If you look at each event by itself, it just seems like another piece of everyday news. But when you put them side by side and connect them into one long stream, suddenly a picture shows up that's way too big and way too intense to ignore. 2025 in America feels like one giant stage where natural disasters, politics, the economy, technology, and war are all ringing alarm bells, one after another, in a way that sounds an awful lot like what the Bible warned about thousands of years ago. It started with that bone-chilling cold back east, temperatures we hadn't seen in over 100 years, almost like nature itself was roaring out a warning. Then, right after that, a political wave slammed into Washington, with the whole FTC mess shaking the legal system and showing how shaky things are at the top. Mixed in there were special aid packages trying to prop up farmers, proof that America's farming heart, the real backbone of this country, is wobbling under all the pressure. Then the stock market took a nosedive while Wall Street held its breath waiting on the Fed. Yet crypto shot the other way like crazy, leaving this weird gap between the old world and the new one. At the same time, IBM shook up the tech world with an $11 billion buyout of Confluent, pushing data speed and flow to a whole new level. And way over across the ocean, the war in Ukraine flared up again, with non-stop attacks, filling Europe with the cold metallic echo of missiles. All of that, in just a few days, wasn't just news, it was signals. When you step back and look at the whole thing, you see an America stretched thin by trouble everywhere. Wild weather, power struggles, a rocking economy, technology going haywire, regional wars, and fear spreading across the globe. Nothing gets a pass. Everything's shaking to the same beat, and that beat makes it impossible not to think about the prophecies we were told about long ago. Because the Bible did describe a time just like this. In Matthew 24, verses 29 through 31, it says, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the powers of the heavens will be shaken, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." All these modern shakes, whether they show up as weather, politics, or money, feel like the first quiet steps of the storm before Jesus comes back. A heads up that we're running out of time. It doesn't stop there. Revelation chapters 6 through 18 talks about seals being opened, trumpets blowing, bowls of wrath poured out, natural disasters, prices all over the place, wars, plagues, empires falling apart, the whole world economy collapsing, and strangely enough, almost too perfectly, the 7 big things that happened this past week look like the first flashes of light cutting through the dark, hinting at a new era where the old world is cracking open to reveal what the Bible simply calls the last days. A lot of folks will say it's just coincidence, just history doing its usual spin. But think about it. How many times in your life have you seen extreme weather, money troubles, wars, tech crises, and political fights all hit at once like this? How many times has everything, from the sky to the ground to people's hearts, started moving together like one big orchestra? In all that shaking, the Bible's warning rings out clearer than ever. 2 Peter 3:10 says, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief." Jesus isn't sending us a calendar invite. He warns us with signs, disasters, wars, nations trembling, money getting shaky, because those are things we can't help but notice. And these 7 things that rolled out one after another the past few days are exactly those signs. They're not random history blips or fuzzy coincidences. They're God calling out to mankind, reminding us we're standing right on the edge of the next big chapter in His plan, where everything gets shaken so we can finally see what's real and what's just smoke. This is wake-up time. This is when we need to turn back to the one who made everything. Because when the moment of Jesus' return gets close, light and darkness will split apart, truth and lies will show their faces, and only the people who hold on to Jesus as their safe place will still be standing when the final storm hits. And when we look back at those 7 big events, I bet you feel the same way I do. This isn't just news, not just weather or politics. It's a gentle but strong reminder that God is still speaking. The question isn't really, are there signs? It's, are we still listening? Because just like in the old days, He doesn't shout. He uses things in nature and in the world to wake up our hearts. In times like these, the most important thing isn't to panic or argue. It's to get back to the basics, God's Word. I truly want to invite you. Please take a little time each day to read the Bible, even if it's just a few verses. Pray, not to try to make everything go your way, but to ask the Lord to change your own heart. Live right, be kind, and spread love around, because that's what this troubled world needs more than anything right now. I'd also love to hear what you think. What do you see in these 7 things? Do they feel like just coincidences to you? Or like wake-up calls? Or if you're not sure what to say, just leave a simple prayer, something straight from your heart to God. Every thought and every prayer matters. And who knows, your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this helped you even a little, please hit like, share it, and subscribe so more folks can wake up and come back to His truth. Even the smallest thing you do can make a bigger difference than you'd ever guess. Thanks for sticking around until the end. Thanks for listening, thinking it over, and opening your heart to the signs the world is quietly showing us. May the Lord be with you, guide every step you take, and give you real peace in these shaky times. And wherever you are, remember, His light is right there in front of you, just waiting for you to walk toward it.
Good evening. Thanks for being with us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson. We begin tonight with the Mideast conflict.
Now, earlier this week, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake triggered a tsunami warning that sent residents in Hawaii.
Elon Musk's brain science company has implanted a device into a human for the first time.
Hamas was active in the building. And out of Gaza, Hamas launching deadly rocket attacks.
Device is designed to interpret your neural activity so you can operate a computer or a smartphone.
Did you know? 2025 is slipping away into its final days so fast, it's taking everyone's breath away. Everything's happening so quick and so intense that even the calmest folks are starting to wonder, is something a whole lot bigger going on here? And if you're watching this video right now, chances are you're feeling it too. That strange urgency that's tightening around all of us. In just a few days, from December 5th through the 8th of 2025, 5 big signs hit us one after another, like the warning bells the Bible talked about more than 2,000 years ago. War in the Middle East flared up, worse than ever. Natural disasters broke records. Hunger spread across Asia. AI technologies started going straight into people's brains. And right in the middle of all that darkness, a loud wake-up call went out from believers everywhere. It's like Matthew 24, verses 3 through 14, is playing out word for word. Wars, earthquakes, famine, and faith falling away. According to the USGS and reports from around the world, natural disasters this year are up 20% compared to the last decade. Thousands have died in the fighting, and Neuralink has officially started testing brain implants, which has a lot of folks worried about a new era of controlling people. Things that used to sound like far-off science fiction are now in the daily news. You're seeing it plain as day, aren't you? And doesn't it feel like time itself is speeding up by the hour? This video didn't find you by accident. It was meant to reach you. Its whole purpose is to help you see the bigger picture, the one Revelation calls the tribulation, the great trouble. We're going to look closely at each of these recent events so you can see the full picture the Lord warned us about thousands of years ago. Like Matthew 24:36 says, "No one knows the day or the hour, but the signs right in front of us are clearer than ever." So please don't skip a thing, because this might just be the moment the Lord wants you to wake up. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, are you ready to dive in and look at the 5 recent events that show we really don't have much time left? Let's start with 1. Middle East conflict escalates. Signs of the birth pains in the Bible. In the first few days of December 2025, the Middle East feels like an old wound ripped open again. And it's happening so fast that even experts who've watched these conflicts for years are saying, this doesn't feel normal anymore. A report from the Institute for the Study of War on December 1st, 2025, says Iran is ready to jump in and widen the fight if Israel hits Hezbollah hard. That could turn the whole region into one big fire. If you've been following the news, do you feel that rush too? Like something big is about to spill over? The trouble isn't new. The Israel-Gaza war has been going on since 2023 and still isn't over. But between December 5th and 8th, 2025, everything suddenly got a lot worse. Israel kept bombing Gaza, especially a big strike on November 18th, 2025, that killed at least 25 Palestinians. That set off anger all across the borders. Right after, Iran and Hezbollah both sent strong warnings they'd hit back. In less than 72 hours, the whole Gaza Strip, just about 150 square miles, and the 50-mile Lebanon-Israel border became the center of the world's attention. The real turning point came on December 4th, 2025, when Israel set up a ring of buffer zones around sensitive areas. That's a clear shift from just defending to getting ready for a much bigger fight. From Tel Aviv to Tehran is only about 230 miles now. Not just a distance on a map, but a straight line of tension where one little spark could burn everything down. And you can see it. What we're watching isn't just politics. It has a different feel, like something that was talked about long ago. Reports from CSIS and posts blowing up on X starting December 5th, 2025, showed deaths shooting way up, thousands hurt, and Iran moving troops toward the border. Hezbollah keeps firing rockets into northern Israel, putting the world right on the edge of a regional war. At the same time, on another front, the World Economic Forum and the United Nations are pushing hard for CBDC, digital money systems already being tested in more than 130 countries. A lot of folks are worried this could lead to a global digital ID. For many believers, all these things fit together like pieces of a prophecy we already know. This is where the Bible lights up like a double-edged sword, pointing straight at our time. Matthew 24, verse 8 says, "All these are the beginning of birth pains." Those birth pains don't come slow and scattered. They come faster, closer together, and stronger each time. If you look at the Middle East map this week, that's exactly what you see. Tension, building in waves, layer on layer, with no breaks in between. It doesn't stop there. Ezekiel 38 talks about a coalition against Israel, and Iran plays a big part, along with Gog, who many scholars believe is Russia. Put Ezekiel 38 next to what's happening from Gaza to Tehran, and the match is almost scary. Things that used to sound like symbols are now daily headlines. And Revelation 13:17 warns, "No one can buy or sell unless he has the mark." With CBDC spreading and digital ID getting closer to being required, a lot of people are asking, are we walking right into the early stage of that prophecy? Of course, some folks will say, the Middle East always has wars. How is this a sign of the end? If we only look at the surface, it's easy to miss the real picture. History shows the Middle East has always been God's prophetic clock. The Six-Day War in 1967 shook the whole world. And now, in 2025, the numbers show this escalation is way beyond normal. Deaths up 30% from 2024, twice as many missiles, and Iran ready to jump in directly for the first time. This isn't just a local conflict anymore. These are birth pains, the first strong pains of something much bigger coming. Everything happening in Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran isn't random. It lines up with every warning in the Bible. And more than that, it reminds us what we